Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's video we're going to work on the splits. That would be Hanumanasana in the lovely language of Sanskrit. I want to kind of get going pretty quickly on this because there's a lot of preparation work and I'd like to run through it twice because it'll be interesting to see if you gain any more flexibility the second go around, which we will. So I guess it's more to say, can you notice it, getting that mind-body connection? So without further ado, the things you might need: 2 blocks are helpful. If you don't have that, like something to lean on is just nice, not mandatory, but it's nice to help keep the body lifted if you have something to hold on to. So maybe a couch or a chair or blocks. It's nice to have a blanket or a cushion or a pillow or something beneath the back knee when we're working on splits. And sometimes underneath the front leg as well. If you have a B mat, sometimes just to get the heel sliding a bit, you might want to have like a blanket or something slippery. Okay, so let's get started in child's pose, balasana, or whatever centering posture works best for you. And we'll get her going here. So taking a few deep breaths and really softening and melting into your centering posture. Taking a moment to set an intention for your practice today. There's so many benefits to yoga, and perhaps you already know the benefit that you're looking for the most. If you're not quite sure, one benefit that the splits can work on is like an energetic benefit. The splits represents when you feel like you're being pulled in 2 different directions at the same time and you're not comfortable with it. So working on the splits, it's not to say that people who can do the splits are better at multitasking, not at all. But when we work on our splits, wherever we're at, it can help us relax into it if we're not feeling that pressure to be in 2 places at once or do too much at one time. Perhaps that's a good intention for you today, to try to not feel the pressures of doing too many things at once. Maybe the intention of learning to say, no, I'm not available for that right now. Learning boundaries, perhaps. Or maybe you are looking to be a little bit more flexible. Maybe you say no too much in life, and maybe you're looking for more flexibility off the mat. In any case, there's so many benefits to yoga. Just picking one of them. From here, taking 3 slow, deep breaths through the nose. Nice, expansive breaths. And taking all the time you need for those 3 full deep breaths to be complete. No need to rush at all. When you are ready, heading up and back to that first downward facing dog. Maybe walking it out a little bit. And then send the feet forward all the way to the top of your mat with the feet parallel, letting the head hang for a moment, feeling that nice length through the backs of the legs and along the whole back side of the body. And then ragdolling one vertebra at a time, taking all the time you need to come on up to standing. And when you arrive, Heels and toes together in Tadasana Mountain Pose, lengthening fingertips right towards the floor, crown of the head reaching to the sky. We'll warm up with a couple of sun cell eights. Here we go. Inhale, raise the arms up. On the exhale, gliding forward, nice and smooth. Remember to use those glutes. On the inhale, looking up to the horizon for flat back. And exhale down. Heading back to plank, strong plank, scooping the belly in. And lowering chaturanga. Inhaling for cobra or upward dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Just a couple deep breaths here. And send the feet forward, all the way to the top. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up. Use those glutes, reaching up high and getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. And again, inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward, nice and smooth. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back to plank, strong plank, belly scooping in. And lowering chaturanga. Inhaling cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Send the feet forward all the way to the top, inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. Here we go, preparing for our splits. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we'll take a three-legged down dog. Right leg reaches to the sky, lengthening through the back of the left leg. And then preparing for low lunge pose. Step the right foot forward between the hands. Gently lower your back knee down, both hands to the inside of the front foot. And lowering down, maybe elbows to the ground, maybe it's to a block, maybe you're still way up high. We've done low lunge before, so we know what we're doing. I'll flip over our timer, lengthening through the spine. So the sternum's reaching forward. And we're breathing deep. Keep going, softening and melting a little bit more. Like a little 2-minute break multiple times throughout our class. This is awesome. From here, come on up. Either head straight back to child's pose or to downward facing dog for a little bit more challenge, or for an extra challenge, stepping it back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Preparing for the other side, left leg sweeps to the sky for three-legged, taking just a moment to feel that length throughout the back of the right leg, this time that supporting leg. And then stepping up forward between the hands, back knee gently lowers down to your mat. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, low lunge. Lowering down, I'll start our timer, breathing deep. Remember, not too much stretch. This should feel like a nice little break, nice little rest. Gentle, gentle stretch. Softening even more those last few deep breaths here. And slowly coming back up, heading back to child's pose or downward dog, or for extra challenge, back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale, downward facing dog. We'll all meet back in downward facing dog as we prepare for the next stretch. We'll start with a three-legged right leg sweeps to the sky to give us an opportunity to feel that stretch in the back of that supporting leg. And then once again, same position, preparing for high lunge. So for this one, I like to use my blocks and also some kind of cushion under the back knee. You might not need it, but I kind of like it. And then lifting up tall, I'll start our timer. The goal here is to lift up nice and tall. Eventually, we sit right down onto the floor. Hence the blocks or something to lean against. And then melting into it. So really feeling that left hip moving forward and down. Eventually it feels like the entire left leg is on the floor. So that's what I try to think about, like the head of the femur pressing down towards the floor. Depending on your flexibility here, if you're feeling a good stretch, just close the eyes. Don't worry about what I'm talking about. But once you start to get a little bit more flexible, it's actually challenging to find the stretch. So what I do is almost the opposite of Hanumanasana, where my front knee is over beyond the ankle. I actually do the opposite so that I can shift and sink back into that back leg, because as you can sort of see, my leg is just about on the floor and I'm still not quite feeling a stretch. So I'm just sinking and melting. And if you are feeling an intense stretch already without hardly moving, there's nothing wrong with that. So anytime I do talk about if you're extra flexible, some people are extra flexible. Some people find yoga after a life of ballet or gymnastics like I did. So I kind of cheated a little bit. But don't worry, for people who are hypermobile, the strength and the balance are harder than most folks. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. We all have our strengths, and some of us think, no, I have none. No, but it's not true. If you don't think you have any, you just haven't found them yet. Breathing deep. We're already done. Just saw those last few grains of salt move through the shaker. So slowly, slowly, no matter how flexible you are, your body will thank you for moving slowly. And then, of course, you've got your options, either child's pose or downward dog, or for that extra challenge, back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhaling, downward facing dog. Preparing for the next side, starting with that three-legged down dog. Left leg sweeps up, and then stepping it forward. Back knee gently lowers down to your mat. And then same thing again. Taking a few moments to find that stretch. I'll get our timer started. Once you do find a position where you feel a stretch, but it's not too intense, closing the eyes. And breathing deep. See if you can sink and melt just a little bit more those last few moments. And then slowly, 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 remember your options, either all the way back to child's pose or downward facing dog, or for that extra challenge, heading back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhaling, downward facing dog. Three-legged down dog, once again, right leg goes up, feeling that stretch, and left leg, and stepping up forward, preparing for gecko. So if gecko is not in your practice, then taking just a simple quad stretch with the left leg. So maybe that's laying on your right side, bending the top leg. Otherwise, using a strap to find that back foot if you need it, or if you can reach with the opposite hand, feel free. If you're reaching with the opposite hand, you're shifting your weight forward and your heel does reach your backside, you can increase the stretch by switching hands. And then once again, now we're trying to lift the torso up and eventually sit down on the floor. One fine day. We're not here 2 minutes though. This is just like 10 seconds or something, not very long. Nice and slow releasing. Remember your options. Child's pose, downward dog, or back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, exhaling downward facing dog. Other side, left leg sweeps for three-legged. Stepping up forward for gecko on the other side. However you need to get into gecko or stretch that right quad. Breathing deep. And slowly, slowly release. Child's pose, downward dog, or plank, chaturanga, up, and downward facing dog. From here, we'll take a three-legged down dog. Oops, I lowered my knees. Right leg sweeps to the sky. Preparing for Hanumanasana. So right foot steps forward. This would be the splits. Starting in your lunge. And then I'm actually going to grab another blanket for underneath my heel. And then one block on either side because we want to keep the torso upright as possible. And feel the same stretch on the front leg as the back leg. So for most of us, when we're leaning forward, we only feel that front leg stretching, but we want to feel both. Breathing deep. Holding, holding. We're not here for 2 minutes. But try to hold, try to feel that stretch in the hip flexor of the back leg as much as you're feeling the front leg stretch. Almost done. And so we held it about a minute, holding back into child's pose or downward dog. Or if you want to do that vinyasa, go ahead. I'm going to take child's pose. So maybe back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, exhaling downward facing dog. And we'll all meet up and back in that downward dog. Other side, left leg sweeps for three-legged. Stepping up forward, preparing for Hanumanasana on the left. Same thing again. So, when you're ready, sliding into it. Trying to feel the stretch equally on the front leg as the back. So drawing that hip back, 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 that front hip back, 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 back hip forward, forward, forward. Breathing free. Slowly, slowly, Slowly. Heading back to child's pose, which I'm going to do, or downward facing dog, or back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhale up. And exhale, downward facing dog. We'll all meet in down dog. That's it for our whole class. Let's run through them once again. Right leg goes up for three-legged. Stepping up, forward. Back knee lowers down. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, lowering up. Throw another timer. This time with the front leg, if you want to tip the toes out to the side and let the right knee fall out to the side, it's kind of an additional little stretch. So you can see my toes tip out to the side and let the knee tip out towards the side. Or you could bring it back in. Generally, I like to do the one that stretches the most. For me, bringing the knee in actually stretches more, but I like doing that outward toe thingy, like a little bit. Slowly, slowly, come on up. Heading back either through child's pose or downward dog, or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Other side, three-legged down dog. And left foot steps forward. Back knee lowers down. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, lowering down. Same thing again, if you want to tip those toes out to the side for this one and let that knee fall outward. Even just for a few moments, it feels kind of nice. Last few deep breaths here. And slowly heading back through child's pose or downward dog or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhale up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Where we'll all meet together. Three-legged down dog, right leg lifts. Stepping up forward for gecko. So remembering your options for gecko again. If you can find the toes with your hand, great. If not, use a strap. We're only here for just a few moments. And release. Remembering your options. Possibly back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Three-legged down dog, left leg sweeps. Preparing for gecko. Left foot steps forward. Back knee lowers down. And popping those back toes off the floor. Few deep breaths. And slowly release. Heading back through child's pose or downward dog. Or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Preparing for our last split. The right leg reaches for the sky for three-legged. Stepping it forward. Back knee lowers down to your mat or maybe something cushy. And whenever you're ready, right leg goes forward, forward, forward. Drawing the hip back. So trying to keep the hips square. Breathing deep. Taking notice. Do you feel more flexible this time? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe your legs just feel kind of like jello, but not more flexible. Like that weird, not flexible jello. Either way, just know this is working a lot. Lots is happening in relation to your mobility. Just trust the process. Breathing deep. And slowly, slowly, slowly. Remembering your options. Back through child's pose or downward dog. Or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Last time, last side. Left leg sweeps. Stepping it forward. Back knee lowers down. And whenever you're ready, front leg moves forward, forward, forward. Drawing that front hip back, 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 back. Breathing deep. Slowly, slowly. Back through child's pose or downward dog. Or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Last downward dog. And then gently lowering through hands and knees. We are winding it all down now, heading all the way down onto your backs, preparing for twisted roots. When you arrive, bending the knees in, and then right leg crosses all the way over left, shifting the hips to the right as the knees lower over to the left. Remember to keep the right shoulder planted down onto the floor. And scoop the belly in, pressing the low back into the floor, unraveling, unwinding. And between sides, hugging the knees into your chest. Maybe a little gentle rock from side to side if that feels right. And then we'll prepare for the second side. Left leg crossing all the way over the right. Hips shift to the left as the knees move to the right. Keeping that left shoulder down onto the ground. And scoop the belly in, pressing the low back into the floor, unraveling and winding. And hug both knees into your chest, and a little rock from side to side. One more last little squeeze to release the back after that beautiful spinal twist. And twisted roots is lovely because it pairs nicely with Shavasana. So laying all the way down. As always, if your back needs a little bit of extra support today, feel free to keep the knees bent with the feet on the floor. Otherwise, extending the arms along the sides and the legs, palms facing up, and closing the eyes. Softening everything, but especially through the neck and the shoulders, and all the way down the arms. letting the fingers softly curl. Softening through the belly and the full length of the back, allowing the whole body to feel heavy into the floor. Taking an extra moment to soften the entire pelvis. We did a lot of stretching the hips today, softening in there. All the spaces around the hips, the tops of the legs, all the way down to the knees, even softening the knees, the calves, the ankles, softening the feet, and even the toes. Softening through the face, softening around the eyes, and even the muscle between the eyes. Just letting it all go. And starting to come back, wiggling the fingers and the toes, and gently roll your head from side to side. And reaching your arms above head on the floor, give yourself a big stretch, feeling totally refreshed. Bending your knees one at a time. And gently roll over to the right side. And just pause there for a moment as you come back. And slowly start to press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position, taking all the time you need. But when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees, inhale, sitting up tall. Exhale, softly close the eyes. Taking your final moments to reconnect with your intention that you set at the beginning of class today. Maybe it had something to do with feeling pulled in two directions at once, and the ability to either not say yes to everything, or maybe it's something completely different, but knowing that you are one step closer to your intention that you set today. Taking another moment to thank yourself for allowing that opportunity to become closer to your goals. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments section, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.